Emma stared at her phone, the screen flashing David's message, "It's over." Her heart sank, but what stunned her even more was logging into their joint account to find it completely drained. Every last penny, gone overnight. Panic surged, but alongside it, a flicker of clarity. Emma knew she couldn't just crumble, she had to act, and fast. First, she contacted the bank, freezing any remaining assets and tracing the withdrawals. Then, she reached out to her closest friends, Sarah and Mark, explaining the situation. While they calmed her panic, she realized David had underestimated her. Instead of calling the police immediately, Emma hatched a plan to gather evidence of his secret transactions, including messages he had sent to an unknown contact the previous week. She knew this was more than a financial betrayal, it was a power play, and she wasn't about to let him win. That night, she stayed awake, reviewing her phone and laptop, connecting dots, and drafting a strategy to confront him with undeniable proof. The next morning, Emma put her plan into motion. She sent David a neutral text, acting as if she had no idea about the money, suggesting they meet to discuss their future. David responded almost immediately, arrogant and dismissive, thinking she was powerless. At the meeting, Emma calmly brought her laptop, opening a spreadsheet detailing every suspicious withdrawal and transfer, with timestamps and locations. David's smirk faltered as she pointed out inconsistencies he couldn't explain. Emma's voice stayed steady, though her hands trembled slightly. She was holding the upper hand now. She revealed she had also contacted a lawyer and reported the transaction fraud to the authorities. For the first time, David looked worried, realizing his move had triggered a far stronger counterattack than he had imagined. Emma didn't just defend herself, she had turned the tables, exposing his recklessness while maintaining control of the situation. By the time the meeting ended, David knew he had lost more than just money. His sense of dominance over her had vanished. Over the next few days, Emma noticed subtle changes in David's behavior. He tried calling and texting, pleading for a private discussion, but she ignored him, knowing any contact could be used against her. Instead, Emma focused on securing her finances, moving her personal accounts out of reach and changing passwords. Meanwhile, she uncovered more hidden transactions, small withdrawals he had made over months, all cleverly disguised. With each discovery, her resolve grew stronger. Emma decided to confront him publicly, not to humiliate but to assert control. She organized a casual dinner with mutual friends, knowing David would try to assert his charm and manipulate the narrative. When he arrived, smirking as usual, Emma presented the facts calmly yet unmistakably. David's confident facade cracked as friends began piecing together what had really happened. Emma had meticulously documented everything, even creating a visual timeline of the withdrawals and lies. By the end of the evening, David left not with triumph but in silence, realizing that Emma's careful planning and unwavering composure had completely dismantled his manipulative scheme. That night, as Emma reflected, she felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. She had not just survived his betrayal but had outsmarted him at every turn. With David out of the picture, Emma felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She took the lessons from the ordeal to rebuild her life on her terms. She met with financial advisors to secure her future and consulted a therapist to process the emotional toll of betrayal. Slowly, she regained trust in herself and learned to rely on her instincts rather than anyone else. Months later, Emma had transformed her apartment into a home filled with warmth, laughter, and stability. She reconnected with Sarah and Mark, strengthening friendships that had endured the trial by fire. One afternoon, Emma received a message from David, a weak attempt at reconciliation, but this time she smiled knowingly. She replied politely but firmly, setting boundaries and refusing to be manipulated again. Emma realized she no longer needed revenge or approval, her power came from her resilience and wisdom. The chapter with David had closed, leaving her stronger, smarter, and fully in control of her destiny. Emma's life, once upended by betrayal, had now become a testament to courage, strategy, and unwavering self-respect. Emma woke up early that morning, sunlight spilling across her bedroom floor, feeling a quiet sense of determination she hadn't known before. After everything that had happened with David, The sudden text, the drained joint account, the manipulation and lies, she realized that surviving wasn't enough anymore. She had to thrive. Her first thought was her daughter, Lily, who had been quietly observing the tension at home, sensing every argument and every whispered secret. Emma wanted Lily to grow up knowing that strength came from intelligence, calmness, and action, not from retaliation or anger. Over coffee, Emma reviewed her plan for the day. She had already contacted her lawyer, arranged meetings with financial advisors, and even scheduled a casual lunch with David's parents, people who, unknowingly, could offer insights into his behavior and patterns of deceit. As Emma left the apartment, she felt the crisp winter air on her face and welcomed it. There was a clarity in her steps that had been missing for months. At the law firm, she met with her attorney, Claire, who had been instrumental in helping Emma understand the legal options she had. Claire laid out strategies for recovering at least part of the money David had taken, emphasizing documentation and evidence. Emma, having anticipated this, had already compiled every transaction, screenshot, and message. Claire nodded, impressed, remarking that Emma's meticulous nature had put her in a much stronger position than most clients in similar situations. "You're not just reacting," Claire said. "You're controlling the narrative, Emma. That's powerful." Next, Emma headed to her bank, where she finalized moving all remaining funds into a secure personal account. The bank manager, a kind man named Richard, expressed concern over the extent of David's withdrawals but was also impressed by Emma's swift action. By the time she left, she felt a mix of relief and empowerment. The real work, she knew, wasn't just about money, it was about reclaiming her life and her peace of mind. Back at home, Lily greeted her mother with a hug, sensing the shift in her energy. Emma smiled, knowing that her composure and confidence would be the lessons Lily carried into adulthood. Over lunch, they spoke about everyday things, school, friends, future plans, deliberately normal, deliberately reassuring. Emma realized that, after months of chaos, these small moments of stability were revolutionary. Later that afternoon, Emma received a message from David. He had somehow gotten wind of her meetings and was attempting a manipulative tone, asking for just one conversation to clarify everything. Emma didn't respond immediately. Instead, she drafted a reply that was firm, concise, and boundary-setting, making it clear that any further contact would be through her lawyer. She didn't feel guilt or hesitation, she felt the power of control returning to her life. The following weeks were a blur of legal proceedings, financial adjustments, and personal rebuilding. Emma met with an investigator to track the funds David had siphoned off, discovering hidden accounts and even a small offshore transaction. The more she uncovered, the clearer it became that David's plan had been reckless, arrogant, and ultimately self-destructive. Emma's lawyer filed the necessary claims, and the authorities were able to freeze a significant portion of the stolen funds. Watching David scramble, panicked and exposed, gave Emma a quiet satisfaction, not of vengeance, but of justice and balance restored. Amid all this, Emma prioritized her emotional recovery. She met with her therapist, Drive Patel, who guided her through processing betrayal, anger, and fear. Through their sessions, Emma understood that her strength came not just from intelligence and planning, but from resilience and self-respect. She began journaling daily, writing letters she would never send to David, articulating everything she had endured and everything she had learned. It became a ritual, a source of clarity and empowerment. One evening, Emma attended a networking event for professionals in her field. She had been hesitant at first, fearing scrutiny or judgment, but she realized that moving forward meant reclaiming every part of her life.
Как я окончательно закрыла дверь в прошлую жизнь, и если раньше мне казалось, что время лечит медленно и болезненно, то теперь я понимаю, оно просто расставляет все по местам, убирая лишнее без сожаления. И я жила обычной жизнью, без драмы и резких поворотов, работала, помогала родителям, по вечерам читала или просто сидела у окна, и в этой простоте было больше счастья, чем во всех попытках сохранить семью ценой собственного достоинства. И однажды мне позвонил бывший муж, впервые задолго долгое время. Его голос был усталым и каким-то потухшим. Он говорил уже без обвинений, без прежней уверенности, словно из него выпустили весь воздух, и сказал, что хочет поговорить, просто поговорить. И я согласилась, не потому что надеялась на что-то, а потому что чувствовала. Эта встреча нужна мне как последняя точка. И мы встретились в маленьком кафе, где было тихо и почти пусто. И он долго молчал, а потом признался, что жизнь с матерью оказалась совсем не такой, как он себе представлял, что постоянный контроль, упреки и недовольство вымотали его, что он потерял работу из-за стресса и конфликтов. И впервые произнес слова, которых я ждала раньше, но которые теперь уже ничего не меняли. Я был неправ, и в этот момент я не испытала ни злорадства, ни радости, только спокойное понимание, что признание, пришедшее слишком поздно, не возвращает прошлое. И я сказала ему об этом честно и спокойно, без горечи, и он смотрел на меня так, будто только сейчас увидел настоящую меня, уверенную, собранную, не просящую и не оправдывающуюся. И, уходя, он спросил, могла бы я когда-нибудь его простить. И я ответила, что простила давно, но это не значит, что готова вернуться туда, где меня не уважали. И эта фраза стала для нас обоих окончательной границей, после которой уже не было ни вопросов, ни надежд. И когда я вышла из кафе, воздух показался особенно свежим, будто я сбросила последний груз, который сама не замечала. И в тот вечер, вернувшись домой, я долго смотрела на родителей, на их спокойные лица, на дом, где все было честно и открыто, и поняла, что именно они научили меня главному — не терпеть несправедливость ради иллюзии спокойствия. И через несколько месяцев в моей жизни появился человек, с которым все было иначе, без тайных решений, без давления, без слов. Я уже все решил, и я не спешила, не строила громких планов, просто жила и позволяла жизни идти своим чередом. И самое важное, я больше никогда не чувствовала вины за то, что защищаю свои границы. И иногда, вспоминая тот день, когда родители ждали моего мужа с машиной, а он в это время заселял свою мать в их квартиру, я понимаю, что именно тогда начался мой путь к свободе, хотя я этого еще не осознавала. И эта история закончилась не местью и не громкой победой, а тихим, зрелым выбором. Больше не позволять никому распоряжаться моей жизнью за моей спиной. И в этом выборе было все: боль, рост, сила и, наконец, настоящее завершение.
And as she held Lily's hand, walking through the park on a golden afternoon, she smiled, knowing the future was hers to shape, and nothing, not even David, could ever take that away.